Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Strong Opinions Loosely Held. I'm Kerpop. I've been building and designing software for over 2 decades for over 1 billion people around the world. This week, we have a special edition of Strong Opinions. Today, we're going to be building something. So we're going to ask you to fire up your IDE, get ready to follow along because this is going to be an exciting one. We're going to build something nice and small, nice and neat. So don't worry, I'm not going to outpace you. And also too, you're going to have the code accessible to you. So in the show notes and the description, you will actually see the GitHub link that shows you all the code that we're going to be writing right here. But before we begin the video, I just want to encourage everybody that's watching to do the usual things, like, subscribe, comment, or even DM. If you like what I'm doing, or if you want to see a slanted opinion on what I'm doing, please go for it. If you have a strong opinion that's loosely held, I'd love to get you to come on the show and express it, or you can DM me and I will be the bearer of that strong opinion and give you my take on it as well. Anyway, today we have a great show lined up and I think you're going to enjoy it, so stay tuned. One of my favorite social media accounts is Boardroom. Boardroom was started by Kevin Durant and I'm sure a bunch of finance people and technical people and whatnot. But the cool thing about them is that they create these listicles. Sometimes they're like Major League Baseball teams with the most all-star selections. Sometimes they're the most valuable NBA teams. Sometimes they're like most popular MLB player jerseys, things like this. They're at the intersection of pop culture, and over the past few years, I've collected so many of these listicle statisticals, if that's what you want to call them. But this is all the screenshots I've taken over the many years I've followed the account. Today, we're going to recreate this experience in iOS. And what we're going to do is we're going to be inspired by Boardroom's most valuable NBA teams statistical listicle. That's a mouthful. But nonetheless, we're going to start on that today. Let's get started. All right, to begin, let's go ahead and fire up Xcode and we'll start a app called Boardroom app. And we're just going to mimic the style of our Boardroom image that we saw earlier. While we're at it, let's go ahead and create a few folders that we'll use later, like resources, enums, view models, class files. We'll just create folders for these right now and we'll use them throughout the app. Okay, in our enums folder, we'll go ahead and we'll create a new file, and this will be our enums for currency. So as we start to convert actual numbers, we want it in eventually euros, but by default, we're just going to have it in US dollars. Next, we'll go ahead and create a struct for our teams, and we'll just name this team item. It'll have everything that we need. It'll have the team name, the ranking, an image for the NBA team, and also the valuation. And of course, it'll do the currency that we want it in as well. There's also going to be a function here that will convert the valuation. So if it's in a certain number, it'll convert it to billions. As we continue to get our base structs and objects in place so that we can have a nice view, one of the most important ones is, of course, our view model. This is actually going to hydrate all the this is actually going to contain all the information that we need to hydrate the front end. So this is a little bit of effort up front, and this will hold all the team's information. That's the name, the ranking, the image name, the valuation, and of course what currency we want to convert it to. It's also going to hold the entire list of teams and the title for our header that we'll use later. So as you can see, I've also got some things to work through in order to kind of get the data in good shape. All right, next we'll go ahead and create our ranking cell. Eventually this is going to be called team cell, and we'll get to that in just a moment. But it really is comprised of two things. One is the team, which is really just a team item, right? So that's all the information like the ranking, the team name, the team image, all of those things get stuffed into this ranking cell. And this cell is used inside of our list, which we'll talk about a little bit later. And in that list, it displays all the cool stuff that we have inside that team item. So all of this is really getting the structure, the skeleton up, so that eventually we can make this really rich and robust in the visuals. So you'll see I kind of struggle with this a little bit because I named it really badly, of course. I called it ranking cell, which really is not accurate. It should be team cell. So moving on. All right, now's the time where all of this structure comes together to display something interesting on the screen. Now, we've already set up our struct for the team. We've got our team view model, which hydrates the data that will go into the front end. And then, of course, we have a very base, bare bones cell, team cell, right, that will display the information one by one based on what we pass to it. And we're only passing a team item to it. And from there, we can display pretty much anything on the screen. So we'll go ahead and get this in shape. And then what we'll do is we'll create a list here as well so that we can display all of these items, all of the teams that we have inside of our view model here on the front end. So we'll go ahead and create a scroll view with a lazy V stack. And inside of that, we're going to do a for each for each one of these team items. We're going to then push in a team cell that is hydrated by the item that we're pushing into it. So it sounds a little complex, but it's actually a lot easier once you get the hang of it. Essentially, it's really just displaying the piece of information that we want inside of the view. And then we have this really great display that comes up, and we're ready for action. Okay, now let's go back to our team cell and let's get it in shape so that what we display is actually what we want. So we'll go in and start modifying it by placing it inside of the V stack, followed by putting it into a horizontal stack or an H stack. And then we'll start describing the things we want within it. We'll just start out with 3 text objects here. So the first one will display the team ranking, then the image name or the logo, and then, of course, we'll follow it up with the valuation. All right, so now we have a nice, neat looking list of the ranking, the team image name, and of course, the valuation converted to billions here. So I think we're ready to move on. Okay, off camera, I went ahead and dumped into my assets object all the images that we'll be using within the app itself. So that's everything from the team logos all the way to the background. So we'll go ahead and start by referencing the background on the main content view. And the first thing we want to do is, of course, make sure that it knows the name of the background. In this case, it's courtside, but we want to add some special things to it. As you'll see, we'll start to give it a blur. We'll give it the right size, of course, all the way edge to edge. And of course, we'll make sure that there's a little bit of an overlay on top of it so that our text that goes on top of it stands out. Next, we'll go in and we'll upload our custom font that we'll be using in the app. This one's called Horizon Bold. We'll go ahead and drag it into the resource folder. Next, we want to go into the Boardroom info section and make sure that we know that the font will be supplied in the application. So we'll copy horizon.otf in there. We'll tweak our team cell here just to get a sense of how it looks visually. Okay, so now since we have our team cell all updated, I'll add some additional values just so that we don't have to repeat ourselves throughout the app. And then it also makes for a much cleaner set of code, just adding these settings at the top that will control how the cell itself will look and feel. You can see that here. Okay, now we'll tweak our team cell even further. We'll include going ahead and adding the image of the team. That will be the logo that we see. And as time goes on, we can see that it gives us a result that essentially is the logo's too big. So we'll continue to tweak it, give it a good size. And once we make those changes, we have a good result that you can see the team logo, the valuation, and of course, the ranking in place. Okay, we're pretty close still. We still have to create the ranking bubble there, or the ranking circle, so to speak. That's the white background with the black letter and the number in which that team is ranked. So let's get started on that. Okay, to start with our number circle, that's what we'll call it. We'll start out with a basic shape of a circle. We'll add some little accoutrements to it to make it at least active. And then as time goes on, you'll see we start adding some of the same or similar properties that we did in the other controls or the components that we're using, right? So we have things like the ranking as a variable, and then of course the background color, the text color, the font size, shape size, things like this, that, and also the font name, just so that we can have a good starting point and we don't have to dig deep into the component in order to change these things later. Next, we'll go ahead and just, now that our component is done, we'll go ahead and add it to the team cell, and then change the variable there so that we can put the team ranking in there, and we should be good to go by adding it right into the control. We'll go ahead and remove this little nonsensical one here, and we're good. Now if we go back to see what's left here in this app, we can see we still need to do our header with the logo for the NBA and a stack of money. But in between each one of these team cells, you'll see a little dashed or dotted line here. That's what we're going to create next. Like most developers, I've already had code like this in a previous project, so I'll go ahead and just copy and paste that. But essentially, I'm giving you the code for free. And so in order to save time, we'll go ahead and add the dash separator here, give it a foreground of white, and Bob's your uncle. And comparatively, it's looking pretty good. So we're getting a pretty close match, and this thing has been appified. The next thing we'll do is we'll start putting together the final piece of our app, which is the header. So we'll go ahead and create a row, a header row that essentially will have a title. It'll have what the theme of this particular listicle statistical is. And we'll start it out by just doing some of the basic things we did before, right? We're going to keep iterating. We're going to keep giving it all the things it needs: font size, font name, brand name, title, all those things. And then it'll start coming together, because all it is a series of H stacks and spacers with image in between. And we'll go ahead and do that. And I think we're going to be ready for the final reveal. And finally, we'll go ahead and add the header right to the stack here for our final reveal. And we did it. We have created an excellent replica of Boardroom's listicle statistical, and it looks pretty darn close, if I am to say so myself. Our interpretation gives homage to what we have seen from Boardroom, while also adding a little bit of style and flavor to make it appified. Thanks so much for following me on this journey, and I hope to build much more of these in the future. Till next time, I'm Curtis Pope, and welcome to Strong Opinions, Loosely Held.